Welcome to the Delaware County Register of Wills video series. I'm Rachel Ezzell Berry, the Delaware County Register of Wills. The topic of this video is what documents are needed to probate an estate if there is a will. This video is intended as a general guide to what documents you may need to bring with you into the office to probate the estate of a person who passed away with a will. While this video is not legal advice, it's intended to provide a general overview to help you with the process and to give you a better sense of what to expect. Let's get started. At the outset, I simply want to note our quick disclaimer of liability that this video is not intended as legal advice. It's just intended as a general guide and an informational tool to help you during this process. Because every estate is different, it is strongly recommended that individuals seek the advice of an attorney. If you would like a recommendation of an estate attorney, you can contact the Delaware County Bar Association at delcobar.org. I'm going to provide an overview of the documents you will need to bring with you for an in-person probate appointment in our office, at least in most cases where the decedent had a will. First, you'll want to bring a copy of the original death certificate, the original will, and any original codicil. It's possible that oaths or affidavits may be necessary. We'll talk about that in a moment. You will need to bring the government-issued photo identification of the person who will be serving as the personal representative. It's possible that renunciations or bond may be necessary, and we'll discuss that in a moment. You'll want to complete the petition for grant of letters, which can be completed online. And finally, you'll want to make sure you have a mechanism to complete the probate fee payment. Most individuals choose to use a credit card, but because there is a convenience fee associated with using a credit card, others prefer to pay by check. The first document that you'll need is the original death certificate of the person who passed away. If the person passed away in Pennsylvania, that document can be ordered by going to health.pa.gov and requesting the original death certificate from the Department of Health. If the person passed away in a different state, you would want to follow up with the appropriate entity in that state in order to obtain that document if you have not done so already. The next document that you'll need to bring with you to probate the estate of a person who passed away with a will is the will itself. It's important that you bring the original will and not a copy of the will. If you only have a copy of the will, I recommend contacting our office for further assistance or consulting with an attorney. You also want to look at the will itself to determine if you need any additional legal advice or any additional forms. The first thing I would check is to verify that it was signed by the person who passed away. If the will is not signed by the person who passed away, you'll want to contact our office for further assistance or consult with an attorney. Would also verify that the will is signed by 2 witnesses. If it is not, you might need additional forms, specifically some affidavits or oaths, and we'll talk about those forms in a moment. Also want to check to verify that the will contains an affidavit that is also signed by 2 witnesses and notarized. If not, you might need the affidavits or oaths I mentioned a moment ago, and we'll discuss those in the slides to come. Finally, you'll want to check to see if there's any original codicil to the will. A codicil is just a word to determine an addition or an amendment to a will. If the person who passed away had an addition or amendment to his or her will, you would want to bring the original document of that with you as well. I mentioned a moment ago that there are some situations where an individual who is probating the estate of a person who passed away with a will would need to also bring oath or affidavit forms of subscribing or non-subscribing witnesses. This video is not intended to be all-inclusive and to give any legal advice, but it is intended as a general explanation of when these forms may be needed. If you need these forms, they can be accessed on our website at delcopa.gov/row/forms.html. You would want to bring a subscribing witness oath for individuals who were present when the decedent signed his or her will. That type of circumstances would arise where a person signed the will, but perhaps the will is not notarized. In that case, the person who signed the will, but without a notary, would want to submit the subscribing witness oath. The non-subscribing witness oath would be appropriate for a person who is familiar with the handwriting and signature of the decedent, but who was not present when the decedent signed his or her will. So for example, if the will is signed by the person who passed away, but there are no witnesses who signed the will, then it would be appropriate to submit the oath of a non-subscribing witness to verify that the handwriting and signature of the decedent appears to be what is on the will. I want to also note that these forms should be notarized prior to bringing them into our office. If getting them notarized is not something that works, then you would want to bring the witnesses with you to the personal probate appointment so we can execute the oath in the registrar's office. The next item you want to be sure to bring to your in-person probate appointment is the government-issued photo identification of the person who will be serving as the personal representative. Of course, the first question is, who is the personal representative? To determine who is the personal representative of a person who passed away with a will, you want to check the will and determine which person was named by the decedent to serve as the personal representative or the executor. This language can take a variety of forms depending on the will and depending on how the person executed it. But in most cases, the language will involve the first named executor or the personal representative or something along those lines. If the will does not name a personal representative, I would advise contacting our office for further assistance or consulting with an attorney. It is possible that a renunciation form will be necessary. When a person passes away with a will, if the executor named in the will not be serving as the personal representative, you would need documentation such as a death certificate of the person who was named in the will to serve as the executor, or a renunciation form to indicate that the person who is named to serve as the executor will not be doing so. That form is available at delcopa.gov/row/forms.html. In many cases, the will name a second named executor. In cases where no one who is named in the will be serving and the person who is named as the executor would like to renounce to somebody who is not named in the will, I recommend following up with our office for additional guidance or consulting with an attorney for legal advice. Another consideration is whether the person who will be serving as the personal representative will be required to post bond and to provide proof of that bond. The first step to determine whether bond is necessary is to check the will. Many wills specify that no bond is required, and if the will specifies that no bond is required, then this is not a consideration that applies to you. However, if the will is silent on whether or not bond is required, it may be required. Under Pennsylvania law, if the person who will be serving as the personal representative lives out of state, or if the person who had passed away had minor children at the time of his or her passing, then it may be required that the individual post bond. The general rule is that the value of the bond must be 2 times the value of the personal property of the person who passed away. This is the same amount that you list on the petition for grant of letters. Many individuals seek the services of Montgomery Insurance Services, located here in Delaware County, and a court-approved bond list is posted in the Delaware County Office of Judicial Support for your consideration. Once you've obtained the original death certificate, ascertained who the personal representative will be, and determined whether renunciations or bond is appropriate to probate this estate, you can proceed with filing the petition for grant of letters. That form can be completed online. From our main website at delcopa.gov/row, select the Online Systems option under Register of Wills navigation. From the menu, select Online Pre-Entry of Petition for Probate to proceed with the online form. If you're having difficulties accessing the online form, we do have a paper petition available on our website at the address listed below. In order to complete the online petition for grant of letters, the button you select is the Pre-Entry for Probate option from the screen that appears. Just quickly, because we offer many services at the Register of Wills office, I want to note that you don't need to select Login as Guest, as that option relates to different services in the Register of Wills office. And further, you don't need to be a registered user or have a username or password to proceed with this service. If you need extra help in completing the online form, please see our online pre-entry for probate video walkthrough, which is available on our website. The information that you will provide in completing the petition for grant of letters first involves information about the decedent and the person who passed away. Our form asks for information about that person's name, address, and place of death. For the type of letters requested, where a person passed away with a will, in most cases you would select letters testamentary. In the More Decedent Info tab, you want to estimate the property value of the person who passed away. That involves an estimate of the individual's personal property, as well as the value of real estate in Pennsylvania, as well as the location of that real estate. For information about the probate party, the representative type in most cases when an individual passes away with a will would be executor. For interested parties, you want to fill out that information for other beneficiaries. To determine other beneficiaries, you would want to check the will for individuals who are named either as receiving a specific item from the person who passed away or receiving a percentage of the leftover estate. Finally, if an attorney is assisting you, in the Attorney tab, you want to include information about that attorney who's assisting in this matter. Once you've obtained the original death certificate, ascertained the appropriate personal representative, obtained any necessary renunciations or bond if required for this estate, and completed the online pre-entry for probate, the only other material you'll probably need is payment for your probate fee. Our fee schedule is available online at our website at delcopa.gov. As you can see, there's a sliding scale based on the value of the probate assets, as well as some additional fees. We calculate the exact fee at the time of probate, but our fee schedule can serve as a helpful guide in estimating about how much money will be owed. We recommend use of a check. That check can be made out to Register of Wills. If you would prefer to use a credit card, you can also bring a credit card with you, but please note that there is a convenience fee associated with using a credit card. This concludes the video of what is needed to probate an estate if there is a will. I'm Rachel Ezzell Berry, the Delaware County Register of Wills. On behalf of my entire office, I hope that you have found this video to be an informative tool to outline the process of what documents you may need to bring to probate an estate in our office for an individual who passed away with a will. As always, I do recommend seeking legal advice as every estate is different, and I also wish you strength during this process, as I know probating an estate is a very difficult time in most individuals' lives. My office looks forward to assisting you further, including but not limited to scheduling your probate appointment and helping you through this process.